My name is Brian Rhoades. I am a Senior Sales Training Manager for Mastec. I run the Mastec Academy of Construction with several other trainers, and I am based out of Central California. So I got my start in broadband on July the 5th of 1990. I was actually working at a factory in Fresno, California, and I worked nights, and I seen some guys doing some aerial construction that morning when I was driving home. So I sat in a parking lot across the street and kind of watched them, and then went over and started talking to them, and the boss showed up on that job site and asked me who I was. And I said, my name's Brian Rhoades. And he said, what are you doing here? I said, oh, I was just checking these guys out or what they were doing. And he says, you looking for a job? And I said, I'm not sure. He goes, yes or no? And I said, well, yes. He goes, when can you start? And I go, I don't know, tomorrow? He goes, well, you're already here, so why don't you start today? And I've been in the industry ever since. My favorite aspect of working in this industry is giving back to others. So things that I've learned throughout my career is teaching the new generation of what it takes to be a lineman or an underground foreman or a directional drill operator. And that brings a lot of joy to me as an individual that has seen this industry in the highs and the lows, is giving back to the communities for one, and also giving back to the individuals that are within the industry, not just even within the company, within the industry, of sharing my success story to them and letting them know that they can be successful. Going from, basically a ground hand to a foreman, and then, running into a supervisor, then running into a manager, I always seen the need for training. Most of the time it was on-the-job training, and you're trying to get with that right foreman, and you're trying to do the right thing and move up the ladder. And, I've always tried to take people under my wing, as the greenhorns coming into the industry, going, hey, I'll train them. And, starting out with being professional and, how you're putting yourself out there to the public of what they see. And, and it just involved from on-the-job training to trying to sell this training program to multiple people throughout the United States on how important it is for the classroom training and the yard training of, climbing the poles or using the bucket truck and understanding what those are, but trying to bring that to real life too, that they understand that, what we're learning here, we need to take with us. And after you're done with a trainer, it's you have to want to have to do the right thing every time. So we try to instill that into their head, no matter if anybody's watching or not. You got your integrity and your morals to do the right thing. So we really push that in the training yard. And then we do a lot of field audits. And we go out in the field and we check on the crews and we coach them and mentor them. It's not about, I got you. It's about trying to make sure that everybody goes home to their family at the end of the day. So that brings a lot of enjoyment to me, trying to make people safe and understanding, and the skills aspect of it. Why are you doing this when you could do this, and this is going to make your job easier? Yeah, they say there's, 1,000 ways to do something, but there's a right way and a wrong way, even though there's 1,000 ways to do it. And trying to get them to understand that, yeah, it might be a little bit longer this way, but at the end of the day, it's the right thing to do. So that brings enjoyment to myself, is being able to explain the why that they're doing it. I wasn't sure when I got into the industry if it was made for me. And then I seen what we're building and how many people in the world need this product of broadband. And it's something that's kind of overlooked. People drive by us, don't understand what we're doing. We might be holding up traffic or something they don't understand. Then you start explaining it to them of what it is, and it brings enjoyment to, people will ask me, hey, what do you do for a living? I'll say, oh, I'm a, telecom construction, trainer. Oh, how'd you get into that? And I start explaining the story. And I show excitement about that, so it brings excitement to them. And they're like, well, how do I get into this? Oh, you can go to the career page and you can sign up here and you can, apply here, and there's multiple different stages. Well, I don't like working with my hands too much. You know what? We need outside plant engineers. We need, people to do walkout. We'll train you how to do that job. I agree with 4 years of college, but if you're not that person, you want to use your hands, you want to see the world, there's not a place that you can't go and do this line of work. And people depend on this service every day. That brings enjoyment, and some of the lines that we build, huge businesses are operating their day-to-day function on this. And, I try to sell that to them. If the guys are like, oh yeah, it's just a job, and it's like, well, hold on, it's not a job, let's look at this as a career, and then look what you're providing for these homes. Look what you're providing for these businesses, and believe it or not, I've talked to individuals in the industry that have been in it for 3 or 4 years but never looked at it that way. And then I see the enjoyment in their practices every day and how they're running their crew now and how they're basically selling the industry also. I mean, it's something that we all need. We use it every day, all day long, from our phones to our televisions to our computers. It's the way of doing business today. And with the broadband technology that's out there, it's growing and growing and growing. And I've seen it go from, 21 channels to however many channels is on the TV today. It's hard to keep up with. And it's just cool to even watch TV and say, you know what, I'm part of that. So that brings a lot of enjoyment. And then when you sell that to somebody to get into the business, they're like, well, you know what? I never knew what that was. I drove over this manhole 1,000,000 times and I didn't understand there was communication lines down there that I use every day. I said, yes. And those ones up on the lines there that you use every day. So that's a cool thing to think about if you're deciding to get in this industry of what you're going to give back to the community. Getting into the business, it's as simple as applying with the right company, learning what they do, being open-minded, taking every opportunity that you can take to get trained, and it's where you want to go. Some people are very happy with just staying out in the field and climbing the poles and running the bucket truck. Some people are very happy of just flagging the traffic for us, which is a very important job. But then there's others that want to move up. And what I see in this industry is we have to move a lot faster in this industry because the younger generation, as myself, is 53 years old, it took me a while to move up through the ranks. The younger generation, as companies, we need to look at it that what took me 5 years to do, that younger generation wants to do in 1 year. So I've learned a lot from the younger generations of the way I do it old school to way somebody that's the first day on the job going, Brian, have you ever thought about doing it this way? And it's like, well, no. I could cut them off. That might discourage them from being in the industry, or I can say, you know what? Why don't you tell me what you're talking about? You know what, John, that's a great idea. And that gets them involved. And I think the more the companies can get their new hires involved into the company, as long as they're going to stay, and then have that ladder that they can move up, that they're not going to be stagnant. So the opportunities in the telecommunication world are huge. Say you're a laborer. 6 months down the road, you could be a ground hand. Then you move up in wages on that. Then, you start watching, get in some training classes, you can move on to being a foreman. So now there's all different types of foremen. You got your aerial foremen, you got your underground foremen, you got your coax splicers, you got your fiber splicers. So now we have a guy that went through line school, says, you know what, I've done this for a couple years, I want to try this. So then they get into coax splicing. So then they start learning all the technical side of the coax splicing. How did the wire work that I just put up? Now they're starting to understand that. Then they're like, you know what, I want another opportunity. So then they go and they sign up for the fiber splicing classes. So then they start doing that and they start doing the fiber splicing, and then it just grows from there. Then, we've had people in our industry that I've watched that went from all those different steps, and then they turned into the fiber splicing supervisor. And then the next thing you know, they're a fiber splicing manager. Now they're running multiple yards, multiple crews, multiple fiber splicers. And I know 2 of them myself right now that have went through that through a company, 25 years, and now they own their own business doing that. This individuals that I'm talking about don't have a college degree, but they have the right mindset to, I can be successful with just a high school education. And they've made it. So if you don't want that 4 years of debt, this is a great industry. We will teach you everything that you need to learn as long as you're open-minded and willing to learn. I gave a lot to this industry, but this industry gave a lot to me. Back in '94, I had a second chance in life. I had a coworker that I traded spots with in the bucket. And we did everything right, from our pole testing to our visual. And when I traded the individual spots in the basket and he boomed up, within 5 minutes later, he was electrocuted. A line came down, hit him on the hard hat, hit him in the shoulder, dropped him down in the fetal position into the basket. And one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in this industry still today is talk about it, one. But two is when we went to the hospital, of seeing this young man's mom walking towards us, and she wanted to know who was in charge of her son at the time of the accident. So I spoke up. She wanted to know everything that we've done that day. And when I got to the point to where I told her that I traded spots with her son in the basket, and I said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, it should have been me." And she gave me the biggest hug that I'll never forget still today, and said, "No, Brian, the Lord's got a plan for you." And that really got me thinking about, you know what? I give a lot to this industry of not only the safety standards, but, being positive, what the impact is. It's selling my story, how I got into it, my childhood. I never thought where I was going to be at today. I'm a six-figure man. And, I'm very proud of what I do today. My family's very proud of me. My grandsons are very proud of me. And it's just something that just drives me. And why do I do what I do? I get to travel the whole United States, and I get to give back to people every day. Not only the people in the public, but the crew members that are out here working. And, when they say, "Hey, Brian, thank you for this and thank you for that, appreciate you caring," that stuff all matters. Those are those $1 million paychecks. And, that's the gratification I get out of it. But I had that turning point in my life that I made a decision that I'm going to stay in this industry and I'm going to make a difference. You know what? Come join us. Come part of this industry. It's a great industry. And if you give 100% to it, it'll give 100% to you. And just be open-minded about things and realize that people need our service. The doctors are great, the lawyers are great, all of them, but they need our service. What we're providing for them to save people's lives or keep somebody out of jail that's, going the wrong direction. COVID really changed a lot of broadband, everybody working from home. And that was exciting times, because what those times did for us as trainers, it gave us a lot of opportunity to train people because the industry kind of died off for the coax splicing and the fiber splicing. There was only a few of doing it. It used to be a dime a dozen doing the rebuilds. But then when there was no rebuilds for many years and it was just, upgrade here and upgrade there, or maintenance, what we call BAU, business as usual, there wasn't those opportunities for people to come in. Then when COVID hit, there was so much opportunity. In 2023, the training department of Mastec Academy of Construction, we trained over 240 people in 4 months how to coax splice to keep Comcast going, because all these people were working at home and there wasn't enough bandwidth now. So we had to do the node plus zeros, and we had to change the infrastructure to get this to work for those people sitting at home. Everybody was used to coming home and their internet working. Now you got all these people with download speeds, and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, everybody's dropping off. And, so they had to make some changes in that. And being part of that is great, where so many people were laid off work, couldn't go to work. We were thriving. And people were like, "How are you guys still working? Out in the public, you guys are doing this and doing that." We had to change some thinkings in the way we did things, but we were working, and everybody loved to see us when we were out there. And that brings major enjoyment. It's kind of like Randy talking about the, storm damage and all that. Well, you know what? That was a storm in itself for the whole United States at once, that we were able to help people to provide that new service to them, to be able to work at home and provide for their families, their kids to work and go to school from their internet. That's enjoyment. And if that doesn't excite you, maybe this career is not for you. But if it does excite you like it does me, come join the group.